Earlier this week, my daughter and I decided to visit the Goodwill bins for the first time since January. They have new rules in place. Of course, masks are required. Families are requested to limit themselves to no more than 3 members. No one under the age of 12 is allowed. And each of the bins is limited to either one person or one family group of less than 3 people. I have never seen this building this empty in, I think it's been 20 years that I've been going to the bins, although I don't go to this one very often because it does tend to be extremely crowded, and the people do at this one get a little more aggressive than the ones up in Portland, which surprises me. My daughter and I tend to have better luck finding clothing up at the bins in Portland, so now and then we'll stop here, but not often. We were in town running errands and we decided to give it a shot and see what the bins are like in summer of 2020. Although I guess technically it's fall. I did not notice that there were arrows on the floor until, honestly, I saw them as I was editing this video. There were so few people that I don't think it made a bit of difference. People were super good at keeping distant from one another. There is a warning on that sign outside the door that you will be asked to leave if you don't follow the social distancing rules. And people were definitely following the rules, being more courteous than usual. There wasn't a lot of interesting bric-a-brac this time, which surprised me because there's always something in these bins. It may not necessarily be something that I want to bring home and add to my life, but there's usually something interesting, at least to look at. There are always Christmas tree stands. I need to remember that when December rolls around and I don't know where mine is, although in December they probably won't be here either. I was a little tempted by the cookie press, but I don't know what pieces they have because I've never owned one before, and I'm pretty sure, as empty as that box was, that it didn't have everything it needed. The packaging of this vintage bead loom really caught my interest. More so than the loom inside, and I'm sure that to use it you would need lots of supplies that I don't have in my crafting stash, so I left it behind. Someday maybe I will try weaving with beads, but it won't be right now. I almost never buy books at the Goodwill bin because I consider them horribly overpriced. I know of other thrift stores and even our friends at the library bookstore where books are much more organized, in better condition, and lower priced. But I do always look because once in a blue moon, I will find something. The most memorable one was 13 copies of The Happy Hollisters, which is one of the vintage mystery children's series that I collect. They all had dust jackets and were in shockingly good condition considering that they'd been kicking around in the bins. And a couple of years ago, I found an entire stack of World Weekly News that were from decades ago that my son absolutely loved reading through. But for the most part, I don't find anything in the books. Let me know if you're a frequent shopper at the bins. Do you buy books or do you have other sources for them? It always seems to be a lot of cookbooks and textbooks and just an odd assortment. On this particular trip, my daughter was looking for sweaters, and I was along for the ride to see if there was anything interesting to see. I wasn't particularly shopping. I always pick up the children's books, even though my children are way past the age where that would be useful to us, and honestly, we probably already have it or something similar to it on our bookshelves at home. But I keep looking. We did have fairly decent luck with the clothing. I think I found 2 or 3 cardigans and a couple of tops, and I know my daughter found some things. I also found a piece of embroidery that I happily adopted. We definitely didn't make the 25 pounds to get the discounted price, but the clothes we got were nice enough that paying $2.19 a pound for them wasn't a problem. We're puzzled by these pictures. It is like the stages of the construction of a restaurant, and there were 3 of that same picture set of pictures there. There were articles, I think, about the restaurant. It seems like they must have been hanging in someone's office somewhere, but how they made it here to the bins and who they think is going to buy them is a puzzle. The furniture section was the sparsest I have ever seen it. This high table here was $1. We think that that's possibly their please get it out of here so we don't have to dispose of it ourselves price. And, for the right person, for the right purpose, that would be a heck of a deal, but we are not that person. And it was a little bit wobbly. There's an antique chair here that was kind of pretty. I can't remember. I think it was probably reasonably priced, but definitely not cheap. And I do not have room in my house for one more chair, so I look at them because they're pretty, but I don't even think about buying them. I'm curious where all of these red vinyl chairs came from because there were a lot of them. Thank you for watching. I'm Michelle from Michelle's Romantic Tangle. Let me know. If you shopped at the bins before 2020, have you been back? Does your experience match ours? Are you waiting to go to the thrift stores until life gets a little bit calmer? It was a less stressful shopping trip than I expected, so we definitely will be back. And I'll be back with you with more videos soon.